What you're about to hear is a story the authorities never wanted you to know. A murder so perfectly executed that it exposed a conspiracy reaching the highest levels of British society. The victim discovered something so dangerous that powerful people ordered her death and then buried the truth forever. This is the case that was never meant to be solved. On a freezing March morning in Whitechapel, Detective Inspector Marcus Hartwell approached what would become the most disturbing scene of his career. Rebecca Thompson's body lay in the narrow alley like a macabre work of art. Everything about the scene screamed professional execution. At 42 years old, Marcus had spent 17 years with the Metropolitan Police. He thought he'd seen every kind of evil humanity could produce. He was wrong. Rebecca Thompson, 28 years old, had been posed with chilling precision. Her expensive clothing remained pristine, her jewelry untouched. No signs of struggle, no defensive wounds. It was as if death had simply claimed her in her sleep. Then someone had arranged her like a museum display. "Christ, Gov, what do you make of this?" Sergeant Davies whispered, his voice shaking. The young officer couldn't hide his revulsion. Marcus crouched beside the body, studying the unnatural positioning. Rebecca's hands were folded across her chest, her eyes closed. Someone had spent considerable time with her after death. The thought made his skin crawl. This wasn't random, Davies. Someone knew exactly what they were doing. Marcus stood slowly, his mind already racing. Professional work, cold, calculated. The detective inspector circled the scene methodically. 2 days missing, according to the initial report. 2 days for whoever did this to perfect their ghastly tableau. Rebecca Thompson, Davies read from his notes, art gallery assistant from Kensington. No enemies, no debts, nothing in her background to suggest why anyone would want her dead. Marcus nodded grimly. The cleanest victims often hid the darkest secrets. Hours later, Marcus sat in Rebecca's elegant Kensington flat, studying her flatmate, Sarah Mitchell. The woman was barely holding herself together, clutching a cold cup of tea like a lifeline. She was meeting a client that night. Sarah's voice trembled. Someone from the gallery, a private collector interested in something valuable. Marcus leaned forward. Did she mention a name? No, she never discussed specifics. Said it could make her career. Sarah's composure cracked. She seemed excited, but nervous too. The pieces were forming a disturbing picture. A mysterious client, valuable artwork, and now a dead gallery assistant. Had Rebecca been worried about anything recently? Strange calls? Feeling followed? Marcus watched Sarah's reaction carefully. The woman's face crumpled. She said someone was watching her. I thought she was being paranoid. Tears flowed freely. There were letters, too. Anonymous ones. She threw them away, said they were probably from some obsessed art lover. Marcus felt ice in his veins. Anonymous letters, surveillance murder. Someone had been stalking Rebecca Thompson, planning her death with meticulous care. As he left the flat, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that Rebecca had stumbled into something far more dangerous than a simple art transaction. The gallery where Rebecca worked epitomized old money discretion. Pristine white walls, hushed atmosphere, and artwork worth more than most people's homes. The owner, Nigel Pemberton, was exactly what Marcus expected. 60-something, refined and nervous. Rebecca was exceptional, Pemberton said, leading Marcus through the exhibition space. Brilliant eye for authenticity. Very popular with our more selective clientele. Marcus caught the hesitation. What kind of selective clientele, Mr. Pemberton? Collectors who value privacy above all else. Perfectly legitimate, of course, but some prefer complete discretion. Pemberton's smile revealed nothing. Marcus studied a painting that could fund his pension. Was Rebecca working on anything unusual before she died? For the first time, Pemberton's mask slipped. There was a piece, Renaissance era, potentially worth millions. Rebecca was handling authentication. Where is this painting now? That's the problem. It's vanished. We assumed Rebecca had secured it for examination, but Pemberton wrung his hands. We haven't reported it missing. Bad for business, you understand. Marcus felt the familiar chill of a case turning deadly serious. A missing multi-million-pound painting and a dead authentication expert. This was no coincidence. As he left the gallery, Marcus noticed the black sedan parked across the street. When he glanced back a block later, it was gone. Someone with serious resources was watching his every move. Back at the station, Chief Inspector Williams summoned Marcus immediately. The older man's face was grim, his usual composure replaced by obvious anxiety. "I've been receiving calls about the Thompson case," Williams began without pleasantries. "Very important calls from very powerful people. They want this handled with extreme discretion." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "Sir, we're barely into the investigation. That woman deserves justice." Williams raised his hand sharply. "Justice is a luxury we might not be able to afford, Hartwell. This case could destroy careers, ruin reputations of people who matter. A woman is dead, sir. I don't care whose reputation gets damaged finding her killer." Williams's expression turned dangerous. "You should care. Your career, your family's security, your future. It all depends on understanding when to stop digging." In 17 years on the force, Marcus had never heard such naked political pressure. Whatever Rebecca Thompson had discovered, it reached into the highest circles of power. "What exactly are you ordering me to do, sir?" "Investigate quietly. If your findings implicate certain individuals, you discuss them with me first. There are forces at work here, bigger than one murder." Williams leaned closer. "Bigger than your sense of justice." Leaving the office, Marcus understood he was now fighting two battles: finding Rebecca's killer and protecting himself from his own department. Despite the official pressure, Marcus couldn't abandon Rebecca Thompson. Working alone in his spare time, he'd traced the missing painting's history. What he discovered chilled him to the bone. The artwork wasn't just valuable. It was Nazi loot, stolen from a Jewish family during the Holocaust. The painting had been circulating through private collections for decades, passed between wealthy buyers who either ignored or embraced its bloody provenance. Rebecca Thompson had uncovered the truth during authentication. Her research proved the painting's original owners, a Viennese family murdered in concentration camps. She'd been preparing to expose the entire network when someone silenced her forever. Sitting in his cramped flat, surrounded by damning evidence, Marcus pieced together a conspiracy that reached Parliament itself. Prominent collectors, including MPs and aristocrats, were trafficking in stolen Holocaust art. The anonymous letters weren't from an art enthusiast. They were death threats. When intimidation failed, they'd resorted to murder. The black sedan following him made perfect sense now. He'd gotten too close to secrets that powerful people would kill to protect. His phone rang, cutting through the silence. The voice was electronically disguised, but the message was crystal clear. "Stop digging, Detective Inspector, or you'll join the Thompson woman." Marcus hung up, hands trembling. Staring at the evidence spread before him, he made the decision that would define his life. Some truths were worth dying for, but before he could act, devastating news arrived. The Thompson case was being transferred to a special unit that handled sensitive matters. His investigation was over before justice could be served. 6 months later, Rebecca Thompson's murder was officially closed. The report blamed an unidentified robber, despite zero supporting evidence. The missing painting was never mentioned in any document. Marcus found himself exiled to a desk job in Surrey, effectively silenced by the very system he'd served faithfully for 17 years. The message was unmistakable: forget what you know, or face the consequences. But Marcus couldn't forget. Hidden in a safety deposit box were copies of all his research, along with a detailed account of the official cover-up. Rebecca Thompson deserved better than having her murder buried to protect war profiteers and art thieves. The painting that cost Rebecca her life disappeared back into the shadow world of private collections, forever hidden from the families who rightfully owned it. The conspiracy continued, shielded by money, power, and institutional cowardice. Years passed, and Marcus watched helplessly as similar cases were buried. The network Rebecca had exposed continued operating, laundering history's crimes through respectable auction houses and private sales. Every year on the anniversary of Rebecca's death, Marcus visited her grave in Highgate Cemetery. He'd place fresh flowers and whisper apologies for failing her, for being unable to deliver the justice she died seeking. The idealistic detective inspector, who once believed in law and order, had learned a harsh truth. Sometimes the system protects the guilty more fiercely than it pursues justice for the innocent. Rebecca Thompson's murder would remain officially unsolved, not because evidence was lacking, but because too many important people had too much to lose if the truth emerged. In the corridors of power, the crime the police were ordered to forget served as a reminder that some secrets are worth killing for and worth burying, no matter the cost to justice or human decency. The conspiracy that claimed Rebecca Thompson's life remains active today, protected by the very institutions meant to serve justice. And somewhere in a private collection, the painting that cost a young woman her life continues to hang on a wall, its bloody history hidden behind a veneer of respectability, waiting for someone brave enough to expose the truth that powerful people killed to conceal.